everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, March 6th, 2022. I'm Victor Newman. Nobody uses my family as a pawn except me. Oh my gosh, those scenes were so good this week. It was almost like being back in the good old days. So much drama in the office, but it was all of the drama of business, but also all of the drama of personal, all rolled into one big, sticky, wonderful ball. I had a lot of fun watching the Titan versus Titan scenes this week. Victor had Adam keep Victoria distracted so that he could get Ashland alone and confront him about faking his illness. Victor laid it all on the line to Ashland, but also for the audience. Why would Ashland fake his illness? Well, for power, of course. It takes one to know one, doesn't it? And it also took Victor to tell Ashland exactly how he was now gonna fix it. Victor said, "You faked an illness, now fake a relapse." He commands Ashland to revert control of Newman Enterprises over to Victoria immediately, leave the country, file for a quick divorce, and never show your face here again. I love it. Make it quick, make it painless, make it believable. Do not let Victoria feel victimized by your disgusting plan, Ashland. Ugh. Ashland is pretty disgusting right now, isn't he? He was like eerily calm and smiley all through Victor's accusations. He said, "Well, why would I leave the country? Why would I do anything that you're asking me to do? Victoria is the woman that I love." And I don't know. I don't know if he was just saying that to keep up the ruse. I mean, does he love Victoria? Is he only using Victoria? Did he when he started the relationship with Victoria, was he using her and then he grew to love her? I don't know how Ashland really feels. But I would love to know how you guys are feeling about Ashland this week, because I kind of hate him right now. He's gone all evil and he's lost all of the charm. I'm wondering how you guys are feeling about him at this point. So I thought that would be a good poll for this week. Ashland Locke, do you love him? Do you hate him? Or do you love to hate him? Go to yrchat.com to cast your vote. Victoria and Nikki burst into that Titan versus Titan scene in their mother-daughter red and blue solids. Didn't Nikki just look outstanding all week long in that poppy red button-up dress? And she was, standing against the walls of Victor's green office, just looking like the prettiest flower in the garden. I couldn't keep my eyes off of her. Except when I was looking at Victoria in her drapey blue dress with the silver half-moon earrings. Oh, and Victoria banging on the door to get in. Oh my goodness, I don't know. I just loved that so much. These two ladies may not know exactly what is going on right now, but they have got it going on right now. The tension building of Victoria standing outside her own office, being locked out, not knowing about the drama that's happening kind of behind her back, while Victor is in there handing her husband his walking papers, and Ashland is just smiling, not really saying much. And then when Victoria and Nikki did get into the room, the two guys did a brilliant, subtle dance. There was a lot of eye acting going along there. There was a lot happening beneath the surface of the scene, which as a viewer was really intriguing to me. And then Ashland surprised me by doing exactly what Victor had asked of him. He fakes a spell of some kind, a panic attack, I assume. He starts gasping for air and has to leave the room. I tell you, he looked like how I looked when I heard Keemo's name on the show for the first time in 25 years. I almost couldn't breathe when I heard that news too. Oh, so good. But Victoria did sign those papers, didn't she? That's what worries me. Right before Ashland had the attack, she was signing them, and I don't think anything stopped her from doing that. I mean, Nikki had tried to stop Victoria previously. I think Nikki's sort of in this in-between position of trying to do some damage control, but Nikki did stop Victoria once from signing over half of her CEO position to Ashland. Nikki said, you might want to talk to your father about this before you do anything rash. Can you talk to him, please? Which means at least Nikki is not totally closed off to Victor's theory about Ashland. She doubts it, but I think she's just trying to play nice for now until she sees some evidence. And until then, she's just running interference. But the thing is, I think I saw Victoria put her pen to the screen, the digital pen to the digital paper, and I think she signed the contract that Ashland drew up. So it was surprising to me that he would fake the panic attack immediately after that. It kind of seems like Ashland got everything that he wanted already before he scurried away. And now we've been seeing Ashland having all of these doctors who Michael has come into contact with. Ashland's been having them disposed of. Gee, I sure hope that Michael was able to get some of those interviews on video, because I'm pretty sure that when Ashland says take care of these guys, he doesn't mean set them up with a lifetime supply of cosmetics. Victoria treated Adam so terribly this week, as she always does, but I just thought she looked extra beautiful doing it this week. I couldn't keep my eyes off of her as she was digging her claws into him. Well, Victor tells Adam to keep Victoria occupied while he goes to confront Ashland, and I think Adam got a little more than he bargained for with that particular task. Victoria was in rare form. She was rolling her eyes, she was clicking her pen, she was practically ready to jump out of her seat rather than sit there and listen to Adam's business ideas. It was great. It was bad, but it was great. And especially when things started to get personal and Victoria was going on about how what she has with Ashland is so special. And where is Sally right now, Adam? Is she too busy designing her own business suits so that she can look the part? Ooh, oh, well, she is sleeping with the boss, Victoria was sure to mention. Oh my gosh. gosh, the line about Sally designing her own business suit so that she could look the part. No, Sally's not designing any business suits. She was wearing something altogether different from a business suit on Friday, but I'll talk about that in a minute, because I also have to say, I don't want to leave the fact that Victoria was so deliciously vicious there. I think that might be some of the most deliciously vicious that Victoria has been in a while. I think that whoever wrote that scene gets the red star, a red star of the week with little devil horns on it, because it was also really fun. She was being mean in the way that she always is, but there was something more fun about it. It was evil fun. And it's just giving Adam all the more reason to want to come for her, because Adam has a little bit of an ethical dilemma here. Adam doesn't wish Victoria the grief that she is potentially going to have here pretty soon, but every time, Victoria was talking about Ashland, I'm sure that Adam was thinking, like Nick was thinking, that Victoria is about to be getting emotionally decimated. Like, here she is, so sure of herself, and this news is going to rock her world. It's going to completely pull the rug from under her feet. But at the same time, Adam also has no reasons at all to then pull any punches on Victoria, where business is concerned. Personal is one thing, but where business is concerned, Victoria clearly has not pulled any punches on him, so why would he do any different for her? In fact, I bet you that Adam is sitting at his desk right now, swiveling around in his chair, thinking about how his portrait would look really good on the Newman Locke CEO office wall. Right? That's the $10 billion question. Ooh. The $10 billion question is, where will Adam and Sally have sex first in that office? Where's the first place they go for? The desk, the couch? I don't know, maybe on the staircase? That staircase doesn't get enough action if you ask me, so... Oh, but that brings me to the dress. I mean, I tell you, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. That dress could have stopped traffic. I mean, it's so good that she was not standing in the middle of the street, because she would have caused a car accident. I mean, that dress that she was wearing on Friday was black and nude, and when she first walked through Adam's office door, I thought the nude part was her skin, and she was just wearing a super revealing black strappy dress. I was like, whoa, Sally just came to the office today wearing nothing but a black spider web. Okay. That's a choice. I mean, it was great. I guess the thing about it is that it would have been outstanding if she would have worn that dress to the club. It's just that dress with her crimped 80s hairstyle, wearing it to the office probably sent some of the boys in the mailroom home for lunch. That's all I'm gonna say. Doofy Nick almost doofed up the whole plan with his love and concern for Victoria. The doof. What is it that Dad was supposed to tell me, Nick? What do you know that I don't know? The doof. I mean, what was Nick going to do, though? I mean, he was not going to be the one to tell Victoria that her husband is a snake, mostly because he already tried that and it didn't work out so well for him. I kind of think Nick should have had a much bigger blow up with Victor when Victor told Nick and Adam about Ashland's con, because Nick tried to warn them both. Nick told them in Tuscany and before that if Ashland was capable of changing and hiding his identity for all those years and stealing an inheritance for himself, then he would be capable of bigger betrayals too. But nobody listened to Nick, and Victor told everyone to stand down and let the wedding happen. And now Nick was right. He should have had a bigger I told you so. But instead it kind of feels like Nick's just on the outside looking in again, which admittedly is usually where he would prefer to be, and maybe that's better for him. But oh my goodness, we also had Nick making the comment this week that he could just kill Ashland. He cares so much about Victoria, and the fact that Ashland has done this, he could just kill him. And that is a very fun line to speculate on, right? As fans, we always cue into that particular type of comment. Well, I mean, I'm sure all the fans are spinning out of control with theories on that right now. I mean, was it just an offhand comment designed to tease us and drive us crazy? Or is Ashland maybe about to fake his own death? Let Victor think he got it right. Let Victor think he won, only for Ashland to come back and one up the great man? Well, if Ashland fakes his own death, like fakes his own murder, and Nick gets accused of killing Ashland, then Nick is really going to have something to talk with Sharon about. Sharon's really going to have to be there for Nick if that happens. Well, and the whole time Ray will be quietly like backing away and giving Nick and Sharon their space, as Ray always does. We seem to always get, a few flowery moments between Sharon and Ray, and then Nick comes by with a problem and kind of separates them. Oh, Sharon, it's totally there for Nick. Sharon is there for Nick all the way. At this point, Sharon is as deep in the Newman family drama as she ever was. Just, pretending to be making espresso behind the counter while really she's eavesdropping, pulling Nick out of a conversation with Victoria, to save him. I'm kind of surprised that Nick told Sharon the whole story about Victoria's husband when Victoria doesn't even know yet. That symbolizes some real trust. And we got to see Sharon's reaction to the fact that Ashland faked his cancer, apparently. And Sharon, as a cancer survivor, is disgusted at what Ashland has done. That just reminds me of Sharon's cancer, and it just reminds me that Sharon's cancer was another one of those stories that Y&R just didn't do well. And Y&R just does not seem to do medical stories well. I think medical issues are just too realistic for the non-reality and the fantasy of daytime. I just think if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. And that's another reason why I think it's really good that Y&R has chosen to transition Nate into the business world. I'm glad to see Nate in these other types of stories, because if Y&R can't do the medical ones right, then don't do it at all, i.e. Dom's bone marrow transplant. Mariah learned this week about Dominic's bone marrow blood illness. Somebody finally filled her in on the whole thing, but we didn't get a follow-up scene with her or anything. I guess at this point, Mariah's involvement in the Dominic story is very whatever. We are all about wedding planning. Mariah and Tessa announce that they are ready to start planning their wedding plan. They're planning to start planning. Okay. Good to know. But please do feel free to tell me more about the wedding dress costumes that you have in mind. I'm fascinated by the idea of wedding costumes as opposed to just traditional dresses. I'm in. I think that sounds delightfully weird. But I also feel skeptical about it. I somehow wonder if any or all of these theme ideas are going to end up fizzling into something more traditional eventually. I don't know. I would like to see Tessa wearing a costume a little closer to the one that she had on this week. The black outfit. It looked like a black leathery skirt and a black shirt. I was honestly not sure how she was going to end up surviving the day without getting stabbed by one of the black spiky earrings that she had on. Did you see those things? They looked kind of like she had a Chinese throwing star hanging from her ear. I don't know. I was concerned for her safety. Once again, I like the Chancellor Winters merger idea. We saw it coming a couple of weeks ago, and the fact that it's just simply called Chancellor Winters works for me. I love the merger idea. I was just scared of what name they were going to come up for it. But Chancellor Winters works for me. I think that Devon and Lily working together and in the future maybe working against each other is a pretty top shelf idea. I think that's exactly where they need to be. And I'm okay building up some anticipation toward that. I was really heartbroken for Lily when Devon initially turned her down. I think that's a really great way to build up some anticipation for when they actually do the merger. But I also think it's consistent with Devon's character. I mean, why would he want to give up his autonomy to just work with his sister? Lily doesn't own Chancellor Industries. She could be out on her butt any day of the week, and then Devon would be stuck working with somebody else. But, I mean, we know that's not going to happen. Jill is so clearly in love with Lily. Jill told Lily this week during their webcam call how proud she is of her. So I am sure that Lily is going to be at the helm of Chancellor Industries for a long, long time. Lily and Devon are going to start working together sooner or later, and eventually they're going to become getting at each other's throats. That's what's also exciting to me. I like the idea of, the nice flowery idea of Devon and Lily working together as friends, but I also like the idea of them going head to head on some stuff. But for now, I'm thinking the Chancellor Winters drama might just all be between Amanda and Imani. Like, how long is Imani going to sit tight and let Amanda treat her like the goofy sidekick? Okay, I mean, maybe it wasn't Imani's place to insert herself into that meeting. Maybe it wasn't her place to give her opinion that wasn't asked for, but I don't know. I feel like Devon and Amanda didn't know that that meeting was going to turn into a merger proposal, and Imani did bring up some questions that needed to be considered. And the way that Amanda clamped her down, like Imani was just a giddy schoolgirl, and we can't have that. Like, Amanda just couldn't stand for Imani saying anything. I mean, I don't get it. If Imani and Amanda were equal partners in their law office, then shouldn't they be equal partners at Chancellor? I don't like the way Amanda is treating Imani. I don't like that Imani has been relegated to second banana. And I think Amanda is going to need to be very careful from here on out. Do not give Imani a reason to resent you. Because if Imani can't find a way to one-up Amanda at work, she might just turn around and try to steal her boyfriend. Maybe I'm just trying extra hard to make a pie out of these rotten apples that I've been given, but I thought that watching Devon play the piano for Dominic was a really sweet scene. I wanted to see Devon become a dad. I think Devon is sweet and charming and gentle. I just didn't want him to become a dad under these circumstances. I'm kind of surprised that Abby let Dominic go over to Devon's house for days. They said it was days that Dominic was going to be there. And I thought that Devon only had 1 day a week visitation. So I don't know. I guess the kids blood disease was magically cured in 2 weeks, and so now he's cleared to go over to Devon's house for as long as he needs to. Ugh, what was Y&R thinking? I don't know. I don't know. Were they thinking, let's take something bad and make it worse? I don't know. Or maybe there's still more to come. I tell you, though, even though that's not my favorite part of the show, I think we've made a really big leap for Chance's character this week. I'm turned around. I thought that I was going to have to sit down and just endure the episode of Chance's therapy, but I really ended up connecting to it. I think that the actor who played the therapist played a huge part in that for me. He was totally warm, totally present. I thought the dialogue between Chance and the therapist seemed really real and natural. And I liked the questions that were asked of Chance. I liked the approach that the therapist used to get Chance to talk. And I just really enjoyed being able to spend that concentrated time with Chance. I think Connor Floyd did an outstanding job there. And it really turned me around. Just being able to put in some time on getting to know Chance and hearing what's going on in his head, that really helped me. And I wouldn't mind seeing 2 or 3 more brief therapy sessions so that we can really dig into the character, really get a sense of the work that Chance is putting into confronting his issues and finding a way forward. Man, the hardest part of Keemo faking his own death had to be writing all of those letters to Jack. That was a lot of letters. That was a big stack. Like, he'd have had to have a hand cramp after that. All those letters just so happened to have been written in the past 12 months, just so that Keemo could resolve the relationship for himself before he mysteriously died of a heart attack? I don't think so. Fake! I don't buy it. Keemo forever. I'm getting that tattoo next week. Well, after Jack learned that Keemo was dead, not dead, he gave the news to Tracy and Billy, and I really liked that Tracy and Billy were there to console Jack from their perspectives of having lost a child too. I hadn't thought of that. Tracy and Billy both lost a child, and so therefore they were the perfect people for Jack to talk to in the moment, the perfect family for Jack to have in that moment. But still, he seemed to rather have Phyllis by his side for all of this. And Phyllis was so smug during those scenes with Tracy and Billy. She practically wanted to say, "In your face," when Jack chose her to go to LA with him instead of Tracy and Billy. And I guess I just didn't totally get her attitude there. Yeah, Billy did make an offhand comment about Phyllis not being family, but Tracy has been more than supportive of Phyllis and Jack. I didn't think that Tracy deserved Phyllis's bratty attitude. And anyway, this isn't about Phyllis. It's not about you, Phyllis. I like the dynamic of Phyllis and Tracy. I like when they're in scenes together because they're so very different. Phyllis is so bold and wild, and Tracy is just a gentle woman. She knew that she wasn't going to change Jack's mind, so she just implored Phyllis to keep him safe and keep them updated. So Jack and Phyllis find themselves on Keemo's front porch. Then they found themselves not trespassing in Keemo's house. And then they just so happened to find a box of handwritten but unmailed letters to Jack from Keemo, signed using his birth name, Keemo, not Hal. Oh, gosh, I don't know what to make of any of this, but Peter Bergman had me. I mean, Peter Bergman is just so damn talented. He made me cry when Jack was reading those letters, even though I don't believe for a minute that all of this is not part of a setup. Oh, I'm setting myself up for disappointment. I know. But that's not going to stop me. Also, Phyllis's reaction to it all kind of bolsters my opinion on all of that, because Jack was reading the letters and weeping and reading and dying inside, and the whole time Phyllis was sitting next to him making these kind of comedic faces, having these over-the-top expressions on her face. It was like her reaction to the whole thing didn't match the tone of the scene. Jack was grieving, and a lot of the time she was looking like her. Billy's podcast is rich and velvety, and I love it. It is deep, it is dark, it is funny, it's absurd. It's just all of the things that I want it to be. It's all of the things that Billy is. I mean, sure, it is self-indulgent, but a lot of people are self-indulgent online these days. I thought it was really cool to be privy mostly to his creative process, his podcaster's block. That was really what it was all about. Billy hitting his head up against the proverbial wall, trying to come up with the right topic, trying to find his right voice. And is this even recording? That is so relatable to me, at least. I just think that Jason Thompson brings such a primetime sensibility to daytime. I mean, that guy is a movie star, and he was so extra Michael Keaton-y during those scenes that it just melted my little 80s girl heart. My only criticisms, I guess, about the podcast scenes were, number one, I was nervous about the length of the monologues because I kept thinking, oh, the fans are going to be chomping at the bit to hate this. So I kept thinking, oh, people are not going to be able to handle this being too long. But then the monologue, although it was long, it got broken up with a lot of physical action. We saw him moving around a lot. We saw everything from different angles. We even saw him getting up and doing jumping jacks, which was hilarious. So I think we're on the right track here. I just think those scenes are going to need to continue to be short and crisp. It cannot end up having the emotional non-punch of a character talking to their phone, for instance, you know. I guess my number two criticism, and maybe this is the larger one, is that Billy's midnight musings have got to be happening at night. I love the podcast studio, but we cannot have that bright light coming through the window. No. We have to go try it again in upstairs in Billy and Lily's second floor that we never see. We need to get into that podcast studio a second time with low, dim lighting. We need a sense of midnight musings. It's all about mood, Billy. Mood. As long as the love is there, the rest is gonna follow. That was our quote from last week. Who said it? Well, the answer is Devon. That was part of Devon's advice to Chance on fatherhood. The love is there. The rest is going to follow. And I think that is very true. It was a hard line, though. Daisy, Marianne V, Ambreen, Cheryl Lynn, Henry, Sue W, and Diana, you guys got it. Here is a line I like. Let's see if you can get this one. Sometimes you need to make a change to keep things interesting. I think that is very true on soaps and in life. Sometimes you need to make a change to keep things interesting. Who said it? If you think you know, go to yrchat.com to leave your guess. And if you get it right, I will give you your shout out during next week's Y&R Chat. I've said what I wanted to say. Now let's see what you guys have to say. Starting with Diana. It was disappointing that we never got to see Michael Baldwin in action all the while he was in Peru. It would have been interesting to see Michael at work using his creativity as he searches for information from the doctors that he spoke with. I was excited that Michael Baldwin was being given this assignment in another country, and then to find out we don't really get any scenes of what he does in Peru other than him speaking to Victor through video chat. I hope we see more of Michael working when he gets back to Genoa City, as it is a waste of his good talent and character. That's so true. I was not expecting to see much of Michael's journey in Peru. I'm sure they're on their limited budgets. They would have had to build a whole set for that. So why do that when you can accomplish plot stuff with the video call? But the point that you're making that I think is probably going to come true is that when Michael does get back, we are going to see a lot more of him. I hope so, at least. I want to see more of Michael folded into the action of this story. He's the one that was on the ground. He's the one that talked to the doctors. So he's going to come back and he's got to have an update for us. He's got to be folded into this. I think so, anyway. T. Nicole says, if I were Lauren, I would be at Victor's door demanding to know where Michael is and why he needs Michael specifically to do his dirty work. You know, Lauren really had to take a big leap to go along with this idea. But, you know, I think she supports him. I think it was established that Michael finds this kind of exciting. I'd be worried about him if I were her, being in a dangerous situation in another country, of course. But maybe we will be able to circle back to Lauren's perspective soon. When's Michael coming back? And if it's not going to be for a little while, we should at least get a scene of Lauren asking what's going on. That would make sense. Oh, let's talk about Ashland. Leslie says, since Ashland lied about being sick, and he used that as his reasoning for letting Harrison move to Italy with Kyle, that's just a cold move, whatever his scheme is that was more important. Did he never love Harrison? That's a great point, Leslie. And Ashland did talk about Harrison a little bit this week. He's the one that brought that up. Like, why would I do that? Why would I do that to my son? But it was very matter of fact the way it was brought up, almost like Y&R didn't want to dwell on it for the exact reason that you're bringing up. It's a character hole, and it's an important character hole. I want to still like Ashland, and if everything with him is as Victor says it is, he's not very likable right now. There's not much reason to like him other than the drama he's bringing. Daisy says, it doesn't make sense that Victoria can change the company's leadership without a vote from the board. Victoria does not own the company. Or did I miss something? That's a great point, Victoria. How did Daisy, that's a great point, Daisy. How did Victoria pull any of this off? As far as I know, Newman Enterprises is still a corporation. There would have needed to be a board vote, I would think. So probably Victor could have just stopped that right then and there. Oh, goodness. Well, Victoria says, Thursday's episode was great soap. I was looking forward to each scene and how the puzzle pieces would fit together. Nick and Adam's discussion let us know what each brother is thinking. Also, they were challenging each other with their own experiences. Love to see Y&R bringing them closer. Nikki nervously asking Victoria to wait to sign the papers was so classic. Victor and Ashland and Victoria's locked office was gold. Is it possible Ashland is not faking and is setting Victor up? Will it be Ashland and Victoria against the Newmans? You know, Victoria, that's a really good point. Maybe at the end of all of this, we're going to find out that Victor was wrong, or there's enough question around it that it's not a slam dunk that Victor is right, and maybe we'll see Victoria doubling down on Ashland and being against the Newmans at the end of all this. I don't know, but Ellen says there seems to be some three-dimensional chess being played here. Yes, isn't that a great way of putting it? It is sort of that the three-dimensional chess game is starting to come to life before our very eyes, and all the players are represented. Well, Herman says, I hear Victor's points as he's confronting Ashland, but I also remember that when the whole scheme for the merger was going down, I saw it as Victoria taking advantage of a dying man because she wanted to show her father how great she could be. Sorry, Victor, but this one should go to Ashland. Your daughter's power, hungriness, and greed led to this. Whoa, Herman, that's a great point, because I remember thinking that a little bit too, that Victoria had her own agenda when all of this is going down. So there's still a little bit of question in the air as to how much Ashland really did manipulate and how much he really just took advantage of it, if at all. Well, I mean, I guess we kind of know at this point, though, that he was faking the illness. So, yeah, maybe that's not right. If he was indeed, he hasn't admitted anything. That's the point that's puzzling. He hasn't really admitted. And the fact that he went along with Victor's request and faked the panic attack also doesn't necessarily imply that he was guilty. He might just have been buying himself time so that he could find a way around Victor, period. And the fact that he was, again, I said it last week, the fact that he was asking for co-CEO in and of itself is not necessarily wrong. But then if he's having people killed in Peru that are talking, I don't know how he didn't fake his illness. Oh, we still have so much more to find out. We still have so far to go. But I am excited about it. It's a little bit of a mystery. Well, Gary says, so now we are to switch back to Victoria as victim mode. Dick tells the audience that Victoria has had to deal with more betrayals than anyone he's ever met. But then just yesterday, the little snot was so vindictively baiting Adam in her signature style. It will be a long time before I will let the manipulation of the writing have me feel sorry for Victoria, who always gives as worse as she gets. I guess I don't see Victoria as victim-y. Am I supposed to, or as a victim? I mean, I suppose I'm supposed to, right? It's just that, boy, she's a force all on her own. I mean, I guess nobody's ever really one thing. You can be a victim and a villain too, right? Robbie says, why is everyone protecting Victoria? She's an adult and the CEO of a major company. Tell her the truth. She deserves to know. Also, she's been a jerk and needs to come back down to earth. The longer they continue to enable her, the more damage Ashland and this relationship will cause. And T. Nicole says, what will be worse is everybody around town knowing about Ashland's lies, while Victoria goes around defending him, oblivious to the truth, and then when she finds out Ashland's big lie and realizes she was the last to know, she will get hurt either way. Maybe finding out the truth right away would give her a reason as to why her marriage with Ashland ended, if that's what she chooses. But if Ashland just disappeared, and then she could spend way more time obsessing where and why he left her, thinking that she was the problem, I think Victor's plan would hurt her even more than, and she could pull an Abby and go on the hunt for her husband. Yeah, I think you're right that Victor's plan ultimately is going to hurt Victoria more than Ashland's lie. If they had taken the information to Victoria, presented it to her, let her know the truth and make her decision as an adult, then I think that probably would have hurt less than knowing that everyone else knew about this and she's the last to know. Even Sharon knows what her husband allegedly did, and she didn't know. So I think you're making a really good point here that it's the lying to Victoria that's actually going to create a double betrayal. She's going to find out about Ashland. That's going to be a betrayal. Then she's going to find out that everyone behind her back knew about it. Ugh. Well, Naomi says Ashland will be a good/bad guy depending on the story and the perspective of the viewer. I'm betting on Ashland outsmarting Victor. I also think Victoria will unite with Ashland to keep from losing her position, and to admit that Ashland was a mistake would be too embarrassing. I think she will continue to make allowances for his bad deeds. Victoria is no stranger to corporate shenanigans and should stay with Ashland to conquer the corporate world. Sherrod says, I agree with you 1000% about Victoria. I think she will stand by her man. This will probably only make her more angry with Nick because she's going to find out that he knew. Naomi responds, yes, she learned from Nikki. Victoria learned from Nikki. In the old days, we just called it being married through thick and thin. Victoria knew Ashland was capable of whopper lies before she married him. Victoria is no victim here. I hope they begin a new generation of Nikki and Victor, a love story with epic twists and turns. Well, now that is really interesting conversation right there. Will Victoria choose to stay with Ashland even if she realizes that the lies are true? I mean, I don't know, but that's a great tie-in to the fact that Nikki did exactly the same thing. Nikki has stood through thick and thin with Victor, and he's had way more whopper lies than this. Daisy says, we don't know yet if Victoria will abide by the lies of Ashland Locke. It looks like Ashland will manufacture something negative about her father. In that moment, Victoria might go along with him again, but the light bulb might just go on and Victoria will recognize that what her husband is doing and then take measures to prevent him from gaining any form of access to Newman Enterprises. She will then provide information to law enforcement about Ashland's fraud and watch as they take him away. I hope we end up with a strong Victoria, but if not, I hope Adam replaces her as CEO. The best part would be Adam working with Nikki. Yes to that. It's also interesting, Daisy, that they talked a little bit about, I think they had Nick mention that what Ashland did was awful, but not a crime. And Adam said, well, it is fraud. So, I mean, I imagine that an argument could be made that it was that any agreement that was made with between Newman Locke, if it was based on a lie, based on a fraud, then at the very least it would be invalid, if not criminal. Speaking of Nick, Diana says, I don't understand why Nick seems to be back to hating Adam again. Has Nick already forgotten that Adam saved his daughter's life twice already? Most recently by donating his kidney to Faith. They seemed to be on a path to mending their relationship as they were hanging out together and drinking beer on occasion, acting like brothers are supposed to. I had that thought too, Diana, that Nick and Adam had been getting along, and that just all flew away. It's just all gone now. And when Nick was standing in Adam's office this week, he was giving a lot of angry face, and I thought, well, gee, you guys were getting along. I mean, surely you must have some kind of understanding that Adam is not a terrible monster. I mean, if he literally saved your daughter's life twice, Adam's kidney is inside of Faith. I mean, I'd say that really only bought Adam a couple of months of good graces. It seems like it should be more. You think? Well, Naomi says, Ashland and Victor in that locked office was good soap drama for me. Adam stalling Victoria, and Victoria so bored, she's clicking her pen to annoy Adam, so she's teasing him a little as siblings do. Playful Victoria is more interesting than when she's irritable and condescending. Naomi, I think you just nailed it. That's exactly what it is. That usually Victoria's interactions with Adam are irritable and condescending. And yet this week, what we had with that scene, which, by the way, the internet was the site, I mean, people were talking about. People loved the clicking pen scene. People had a lot to say about that scene. And it's just a little bit of a plot device, or a little bit of a something to add to the usual words. Like, the words that Victoria said to Adam didn't change. It was her attitude while she was doing it. There was something, I don't know if playful's the word I would pick, but there was just something more going on there that made it more entertaining. Herman says, watching Victoria with Adam, I think that Amelia H. is relishing playing Victoria as wicked. And for some strange reason, I'm enjoying it because she is clearly having a great time. Doesn't make me like Victoria, but I sure appreciate Amelia's talents. I wonder if Amelia came up with that idea on her own. I wonder if she said, hey, let me do a little something different. I'll click my pen. I'll be, let me play this. But it almost feels that it works so well because Adam's character has lightened up so much lately. We're getting so much more personality from Adam. So the fact that Amelia decided, or someone decided for her, that Victoria should also be played up to at least meet that level a little bit. Because it's not fun to have someone like Adam who is trying. We're constantly seeing him try. And he's also kind of got a sense of humor now that he didn't have before. It's not fun to watch someone who's kind of got a good sense of humor just get stomped on. Just stomped on. And how do you like the person who's doing the stomping? And the answer to that is something so small like Victoria rising up her behaviors, not changing her words, but changing her behavior a little bit to meet it. That makes it more entertaining. And Gary says of Adam is so much more interesting in righteousness than he ever was, with all of those kooky getting back at the Newmans schemes. And being good over bad, being more interesting, is not something you can say about many characters, past or present. I've really got my eye on Adam with a big investment in his not going dark and boring me again. Always dance in the light, Adam Newman. We like you better that way. Oh, that might be my favorite comment of the week, Gary. That is so good, because you're honing in on the fact that usually the bad characters are more interesting. People kind of like playing the villain, seeing the villain. That's fun. It's usually the good guys who are boring, but with Adam, it's a totally different dynamic. I mean, I think it's because we can't forget his history. We know he was dark, and so watching him try to make the right decision, like in spite of himself over and over, even though he has every right to hate these people, I suppose everybody has a right to hate everybody, but just watching Adam battle within himself over that, being the good guy, but knowing that he has that darkness inside of him, I think that's what really makes it compelling and interesting. That's so unique. Usually the good guy is the boring one, and yet with Adam, you're bored when he's dark. That's great. Always dance in the light, Adam Newman. So good. Oh, well, Herman says, okay, Allie, you asked for it last week, and I'll need you to protect me from any hate directed toward me for saying this, but I'm not on board with Adam and Sally. The main reason is because of the writing of the Sally character. This is not the Sally that I fell in love with when she was introduced on Bold. This character of Sally is written way too thirsty for my taste. I roll my eyes each time she has a conversation with anyone, even Adam most of the time, but not always. She comes across to me as desperate for everyone else's approval. Oh, I'm going to pause there, and I'm going to edit this comment, or, it was a long one, but I think that's a really good point to pause on, because Sally coming across desperate for everyone else's approval was exactly what turned me off of her a couple of months back when Sally was on the island all by herself and she wasn't connected to anyone, and it just seemed like she just was going, like me, won't somebody like me? And it's like, well, hey, be yourself. And Herman goes on to say, I love a vixen. a soapy bad girl and Sally could be one of, I love a vixen, a soapy bad girl. And Sally could be one of the greatest, but that's not the way she's written. Not the way she keeps yapping at everyone, takes no ownership of her badness, and continues to display a desperate need for approval of people who do not matter. Yeah, Herman, that's pretty much exactly what we were saying a couple of months ago. I don't know why the Adam romance changed for me. It probably is more because of Adam. It probably is more because I was just yearning for something different from Adam, and then I just stopped thinking about it from a Sally perspective. But what I also like about your comment is that you love the Sally character. Here's the thing. You don't like the couple, but you love the Sally character. You just don't like the way she's written on Y&R. And that's very valid because I knew Sally when she was introduced onto Bold and the Beautiful, and I'll agree it is very different. I mean, the character had, some evolution through her time on Bold and the Beautiful, but I agree she needs to be written with a little more ownership of her bad girl ways. But even Herman has to say, hot damn, Sally, you can't come to work dressed like that. You're about to give me a heart attack. You walk into the room dressed like a futuristic red-headed Barbarella, and my blood pressure went up. Was that what caused Ashland's latest cancer attack? Please, someone call a medical assistant for me and Ashland. I think, it's so great, too, because a lot of times we almost like a character so much and want from them so much that we just feel failed by them. And I think maybe that's the essence of what it is there. You love Sally, and she's not living up to the love, Good points. All good points. Well, let's flip the switch over here for a comment from Sue W., who says, why was Amanda so standoffish and condescending when Imani happened upon, asked to be a part of, and then joined the Lily Devon meeting? Unless I haven't picked up on it, I've seen no indication nor reason that Amanda would need to rein in and overstepping Imani in their professional relationship. Imani seemed to hit all the right notes in the happenstance opportunity to be involved and didn't appear aggressive nor out of line with her input, which should be professionally considered and encouraged. That her input should be professionally considered and encouraged. Yes, Amanda is way too confident to be threatened by such an, at least business-wise, Imani isn't barreling in like she did when salivating over Nate. Isn't Amanda the one who initiated she and her sister practicing law together in the first place? Of course they're not on equal footing, but Imani knows and accepts that. Seems to me it's Amanda, not Imani, that needs to chill. Sue W., eloquent as always. That is so true. It's Amanda, not Imani, that needs to chill. Imani didn't do anything wrong. And Amanda reined her back like a child, like, no, little one. You don't understand the dynamics of this family the way that I do. Yeah, I don't think I really liked you said that should be professionally encouraged. Dang, that is really good. That would be the environment to be in, where your input as an attorney at a meeting might actually be welcome, but no. I mean, it was a business meeting, and then it kind of turned into a family meeting, and I guess maybe that's where Amanda was coming from. Maybe it was because Amanda is involved with Devon and knows Lily personally that maybe Amanda sensed the tonal shift of the meeting and realized that, this is a family conversation. This has ceased to become a professional meeting. This is a personal conversation, and maybe that's where she was coming from. Well, Ellen says, Chance's therapy session was a definite highlight for me today, as at long last he is seeking the help he needs. Very glad to see the show putting him with a therapist who's a veteran with active duty experience. So many veterans don't have access to this kind of help. Let's hope they show a success story with Chance, but a realistic one. PTSD is not a quick fix. Yes, exactly, Ellen, and I'm so glad you feel that way because I really connected with that scene too, and I didn't expect to. I really thought, well, we're gonna phone this in with the therapy, but I thought they did a great job with it. I mean, the fact that the therapist was a veteran with active duty experience, that really hit it home for me, that Chance was talking with someone who could relate to him and who he could relate to, where he could feel comfortable sharing the things that are really bothering him. Because at this point, Chance is not bothered by the situation at home, the situation with Dominic. Chance is okay with the fact that Devon is Dominic's father also. What is bothering Chance is the fact that he's having these flashbacks, that he is unable to move forward from the incident that happened in Spain, the fact that he's still having nightmares about it, the fact that where the inadequacy really stems from is the fact that he felt like he couldn't save his team. He has survivor's guilt. That's where everything else is springing from, and especially his problems with fatherhood right now. So this is really important, that if we're going to help Chance through, that you have to get to the root of the problem, and it would be someone who has active duty experience, who could help him through that. But yeah, I also agree it's not a quick fix. And I'm not necessarily looking for Y&R to drag it out for a long time, but over the course of at least the next month, I would like to see Chance have a couple more brief sessions, and then I would like to see him putting the things that he's talked about, the things that he's learned, into use. And that doesn't mean that he can't have a setback. That could be part of his ongoing story for the next year. But I think that we need to get a sense of what he's doing to try to help himself through, and then we need to see him trying to put it into action. I think it's all good. It's all good. I wasn't expecting it to be good, but darn, it's good. Well, I asked you guys last week if you think that Y&R should bring Keemo back from the dead. 63% of you say yes, bring Keemo back. 37% of you traitors say no, don't bring Keemo back. Hey, 63% still good for me to continue on with my Keemo love story here. Trisha says, if it gives Jack and Phyllis a big storyline, because I want them back together. Okay, and I think that's what it is. The Keemo thing would be great to get this character. It would be great to get Keemo's character, but what we're seeing here is a larger picture to get Jack and Phyllis back together, and we can certainly use Keemo and his daughter maybe to do that. Marianne V says, I think it's too late for Keemo. Y&R had their chance with drama and a good, interesting storyline, but they chose to kill Keemo instead. Too bad. The viewers would have enjoyed having Keemo back. Are you sure you're not holding out any hope for a twist? Marianne V, I can't handle it. I need to have the hope. I can't have my hope be dashed. I'm just never going to be able to believe that Keemo is dead, not dead. What was it? Ellen said last week, too. We need to get an ongoing list of characters who are dead, not dead. You had Graham Bloodworth on the list, too. Gosh, he was good. Yeah, we need a long, ongoing list of all the characters who we just refuse to believe are dead because they're too good. Henry voted no to bringing Keemo back, saying, I just don't see what this would add or take away from the show. The scenario or storyline just came out of nowhere. However, if new Keemo would be portrayed by a different and more fitting character to portray him, I could accept it. But now I seem to be talking out of both sides of my mouth, so I'll stop. If they were going to cast Keemo, I would have assumed it to be a recast, and it could be developing a whole new story. I mean, Jack and Phyllis's romance, that's going to be great. I mean, if that's where they're headed, and we really get there, and Y&R makes me want it, I'm for Jack and Phyllis getting back together. But I think Jack having a story about his son would be more impactful, honestly, and not just because of my connection to Keemo, but I just think that would be a way to bring Jack into the focus, and also to really make more use of Peter Bergman's incredible talents. Victoria says, I want a long mystery of trying to find out about Keemo's life and death. During this time, Allie, Keemo's daughter, comes to Genoa City to seek revenge for the deep-seated hatred and loss felt by her father toward the Abbotts. After a period of time, Keemo returns to finish his plan of revenge and join his daughter. On a lighter note in Genoa City, if newcomer Allie and Nate are attracted to each other, we can have a new couple, Lena, thus fulfilling, in a small part, our Allie's fantasy. Yeah, you know what though? Okay, I didn't talk about the photo that Jack found, and he said it was Keemo and two women, right? So basically Keemo and Allie's mother, and the photo was from exactly 10 years ago, 2012. So I don't know how old Allie would have been in that picture, but when I heard that, I thought for some reason I connected it to Allie maybe being 10 years old, but that doesn't make sense because they didn't say it was a baby. So I wonder how old Allie will be. That's a pretty good question, right? I mean, would she be in the age range of being able to have a romance with Nate? If they put an Allie character together with Nate, I might just die. If they put the Allie character together with Nate and then bring back on Keemo, I might just die. But I agree with you in kind of wanting a long mystery of Keemo's life and death. I don't know if the majority of people would want that, but I sure do. Well, how about this? Victoria says Phyllis hit it dead on when she said the person who's texting Jack is being cruel. It is a horrible way to inform someone that they have lost their child. Tracy's concern was warranted. Her uneasiness is promising some good drama. I'm on board for a big mystery where Jack, Phyllis, and Tracy solve the Keemo puzzle. Yeah, because also Tracy is an author, so she's got this inquisitive mind, and she might be able to help put together the pieces here. That's such a good idea. And also, the fact that, let's say, Allie was the one doing the texting. She lures Jack to this house, this empty house, nothing in it, except for a box with these letters. It's still, as Victoria says, it's still cruel. It's still a horrible way to inform Jack about his son. Unless Allie was thinking, my dad didn't want to have anything to do with him. I'm going to honor my dad's wishes by not trying to have any contact with him. I will just tell him the address where he can pick up the stuff, even though I clearly have the Abbott address right here in all of these letters and could just mail the letters to Jack. No, I'm going to send him these text messages anonymously, refuse to tell him who I am, and lure him to this house where he can discover the box himself. There's just not, I mean, unless it's just all mystery and drama, but from the perspective of Jack finding out that his son had died this way and the subterfuge around it, it is cruel. But Jamie says, I loved watching my girl Phyllis brush off all the shade, suspension, and doubts that she has Jack's best interest at heart, with complete non-acknowledgement all around, barring some eye rolls and sassy facial expressions. Yeah, I mean, Billy did make an offhand comment about her not having, well, Jack, I don't know, was anybody saying that she didn't have Jack's interest at heart? Was it Billy that was saying that? And maybe that's coming also from Billy knowing that the reason Phyllis and Jack broke up was because of the affair that he had with her. So maybe Billy was doing some projecting there. I just found that Phyllis's place in all of this feels really awkward. I love Michelle Stafford's comedy, but comedy is not what was needed here. Well, let's end talking about Billy's podcast. Michelle says, Billy's podcast recording, oh my. Is it okay that I'm laughing this hard? Did the writers mean to make it humorous? I don't want to find it funny, but my goodness, it's so different than the other scenes. And Gary says, nice jumping jacks, I admit. Yeah, I think it was meant to be humorous, and that's one of the things I liked about it, was that it started off serious and cringy. And I wanted to die. And then he made it funny and, just totally blew the whole thing up. Like, I had this expectation of drama, and then boom, they dropped comedy in on it. Then went back to drama, then boom, comedy. Like, I thought it played really well. Sue W. says, I really loved the scenes of uncomfortable Billy trying to launch his self-serving, humanity-serving podcast. so poignant and hilarious at the same time. The little annoyances, forgetting to record, knocking stuff over, were so relatable to me, trying to do about anything. And what a showcase for Jason Thompson. Watching/listening to Billy bumble as he attempted to be relevant and productive was pretty good. I Ask You, listeners, made me feel kind of sorry for him in that moment. I mean, who will really be listening? Lily, Jack? Billy has no fan base, and there's plenty of other podcast content for his yet-to-be audience to pick from. They're all probably busy listening to Y&R Chat anyway. I'm curious to see where all of this is heading. I do think a Lily-Billy breakup is inching ever closer. With each additional broken record tribute, one gushes to the amazing other. Something's gotta give. And CW Billy did end the podcast with that poignant moment of saying, I'm not family. Lily doesn't see me as family. She's working on, establishing this as a family business, and I'm not that to her. Took that as a possibility that he might be proposing to her, that maybe he might want to make it official and let them become officially family. But you never know. You just never know. When we also had that little moment of Imani saying, hey, wasn't there something going on between you and Billy before? Then, that also looms a little concerning, I would say. So you might be right. Billy and Lily might be breaking up, but I love your assessment of the podcast beats. Leslie asks, Allie, have you ever forgotten to push record? Well, now you've done it. Now you've got me paranoid. I don't know. Is this recording? I am sure. I'm sure that I would have at some point forgot to push record on the podcast at some point in 10 years. But I just had this realization that, I think I started the podcast in 2012, and that's when the photo was taken of Keemo and his daughter. 2012? Exactly 10 years ago? So, wait, is that when I started the podcast? 2012? Because I think Y&R Chat started in 2008. No, it's 2010. Never mind. I'm looking for reasons now. I'm looking for meta reasons, looking for clues now. They've gotten in my head with this character named Allie. And having a podcast on the show, which the Y&R Chat podcast does way better than the Y&R videos, or has more subscribers, or more people listen to the podcast than watch the videos, which is great for me, because at the end of the day, I'm sure there have been some points in the early days where I did forget to press record on the podcast, but the video is the way bigger hassle. I know a lot of people do like the video, but the video is the harder part of it all. The podcast, you just plug in and push. As long as you're recording, that's all you gotta do. But I will say, I forgot, you guys, you gotta tell me these things. There's been this annoying bumping on the podcast recording, which I didn't hear. I think it's mostly taking place when I'm reading the comments, so I assume I'm moving around too much and bumping the table, or maybe the camera's shaking and bumping the microphone. That's the thing, is picking up little things that on the recording that you don't want to be there. If the air conditioning or the heat kicks on during the recording, it's like, you can hear that buzzing in the background. I cannot do laundry or anything when the podcast is recording. If someone's mowing, that sometimes gets picked up. Those are the little challenges of podcasting, but it is by far easier than the video, because you have to control the lighting with the video, and all of the files on an hour-and-a-half long recording are huge, so I have to transfer all of these huge files, and then it takes so much computer power to edit these huge files all together into one massive file, and then upload the massive file. It's the video is the harder component of it by far. But I know I have some longtime folks who really love those YouTube videos, including Aaron. Aaron, whose birthday is March 8th. Oh my goodness. So Aaron, you have a birthday this upcoming week. Aaron's like one of the original, the OG YouTube Y&R chatters. Oh, happy birthday, Aaron. It just makes me happy to see your name and see your comments and see your face. And I hope you have a very happy birthday. I also thank you so much, you guys, for my birthday wishes. I ate a pan of Rice Krispies. That's the summary of my birthday. My mom made me, as she always makes me, a pan of Rice Krispies, but it has a layer of a chocolate peanut butter mixture on top. So it's the Rice Krispie, but a thick layer of like a chocolate peanut butter mixture on top. So it's a peanut butter chocolate Rice Krispie. That's what is my birthday treat. It's not a birthday cake, but it's in a pan. So, I mean, that's all it needs to be. She stuck a candle in it. It's fine. But the peanut butter chocolate Rice Krispie treat has been a challenge for me mentally, because once it's there, I know it's there, and I can't stop until it's gone. So I'm like on a mission, eating this chocolate Rice Krispie treats for 3 or 4 days in a row. It's all I can think about. I wake up in the morning thinking about it. I mean, I was eating it by like 8 o'clock in the morning. It's ridiculous. Oh, and it happens every year. I have to tell myself, Allie, you feel this way every year about the Rice Krispie treats. Just eat them. It's going to be okay. I'm not worried about aging. I'm worried about knowing that I'm going to eat a pan of Rice Krispie treats. That's the real truth. Oh, well. What are you thinking this week, Y&R Chatters? Go to yrchat.com. Everybody has so much to say about Ashland. I just want to know if you love him, hate him, or love to hate him. I can't wait to see your votes. I can't wait to read your comments. I hope you all have a really wonderful week. I hope that the podcast doesn't have an annoying banging on it. And if it does, I'm going to continue to try to fix it next week when I come back and see you on Sunday. Love you guys.